I've played 6 hours of Assassin's Creed Shadows and had a first look at Assassin's Creed Infinity at Ubisoft Quebec Studios, which is now officially called the Animus Hub and will be launching alongside Shadows on March the 20th. But what is it exactly? How does it work? And should you even really care? Well, yes, you should, because if you plan to play any new AC game over the next decade, this Animus Hub is not skippable, and it will be the very first thing you see when you boot up any AC game you own across all consoles and platforms, as you can kind of see on your screen right now. So it's very important to understand what this actually does and how it benefits or doesn't benefit you, especially as I'm going to go into detail about some of my concerns that I do have about this hub, which again, there are several. Also, this video isn't sponsored by anybody, so no bamboozling here. And let's start with a general overview so we're all on the same page. What is the Animus Hub? Well, this hub is not a launcher apparently, because in the words of the franchise team who led this presentation, they said, we don't need another standalone launcher, which I completely agree with. In fact, this Animus Hub is directly embedded into the Shadows executable file, with the team going on to say that if you can't load the hub and then get into your Assassin's Creed games very quickly, then they have failed as a development team, which I really do appreciate the honesty there. Let's see if it is indeed quick when it does launch. So, all right then, it kind of links to your Ubisoft account and brings all of your Assassin's Creed games into one easy to navigate main menu that loads fast apparently. But what else is the point of it? Is it just a glorified Ubisoft Connect? Well, the team also then said that they wanted to create a continuous reward progression system in this hub that works across all future AC games and updates. And this means that just by playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, you'd pick up some pretty cool armor sets, weapons, and cosmetics to redeem in this hub that are completely free, but most importantly, they are separate from the main microtransaction store, which I am going to be discussing with you very shortly. But I hear what you're thinking. So it's basically a fast Ubisoft Connect launcher, which has a free Battle Pass reward mechanic, which works across all of your AC games. Pretty cool, but anything else? Well, now this is where it does indeed get intriguing, because this hub is now, in a way, where the new storyline will expand from that is currently in the process of being completely revamped. And let's kind of go through that right now, because it's all about the modern day story. Because with the launch of Shadows and the Animus Hub, we will no longer be jumping into the Animus as protagonists like Layla or Desmond, but rather we are now the main storyline, so to speak, I guess. In fact, this team stated that this hub is going to provide us with a coherent, ongoing, and consistent modern day storyline that brings together the whole AC universe. Now, to do this, the franchise team have now reimagined the modern day storyline, where they said to us in a presentation, and I quote, "We are pushing the story a bit into the near future, which has allowed us to create a new version of the Animus, which will have a wider reaching impact on the world that the modern day story takes place in." And in my opinion, this is a good move, because the core AC storyline has become long, convoluted, confusing, contradictory, and pretty messy over the last decade. In fact, I know several of you in the comments over the last couple of years have specifically mentioned this, where you feel like you need to read a kind of encyclopedia worth of AC lore just to kind of catch up and have a vague idea of what's going on in the latest update or even in the latest game. And I agree with you, which is why I'm pretty optimistic here about a fresh reboot of sorts. But it also makes sense from a business perspective that Ubisoft starts with a clean slate going into Shadows, ensuring that new players that are coming into the franchise for the first time find it easy to understand and grasp what's actually going on. Now, this new version of the Animus is now called the Animus Ego, where we as the user utilize a hacked version of this Animus called the Dark Animus, which allows us to access memories that Abstergo don't want us to see or experience, and this starts with Shadows. Ubisoft also teased us with a protagonist, or it could be an antagonist actually in this presentation, which they are officially calling the mysterious figure. Now, this person or program, or could even be an Isu, was attempting to speak to us through glitches in this promotional Abstergo trailer that we saw via our hacked Animus, kind of warning us of danger to come, essentially. We also got half a second glimpse of this figure, who took on a visual resemblance to that of the Reader, who appeared in the Grey simulation inside Valhalla, so setting the scene behind the scenes, so to speak, if that kind of makes sense. Now, this is where AC Shadows comes in, which is being described as a VIP launch period 2 release title, which is a fancy set of marketing words, which means that the rebooted main modern day storyline is only going to be in the Animus Hub, which will only progress forward with every single title update, DLC expansion, new AC games, and even multiplayer content after Shadow does release. So everything that comes after links into this main storyline inside the hub. So even if you own Mirage, Valhalla, Odyssey, and Origins, which you can access via the memories panel here when you do open up the hub, these games won't be receiving any further updates, by the way, as far as I'm aware, and they won't be linked to the hub's new storyline or battle pass reward system in the same way that Shadows is or future content is. And they also wouldn't say if the previous generation of AC games will be added to the Animus Hub further down the line, those being every single game from AC1 all the way to Syndicate, but I'm pretty sure that they will be in good time. It's just a lot of work for the developers to do, or the teams to do, to kind of get them working all in sync on this hub. And I think that they just want to get their most recent games and main money earners on that platform first. Incidentally, with every new game going forward on this launcher, the character screen will change depending upon what armor or protagonist you last saved your game as. So I'm assuming that this is also going to happen for AC multiplayer with our own unique characters, or co-op if that ever comes out. I think it's going to be launching next year, which will certainly be cool to see on the menu screen. And speaking of saves, actually, there's no further clarification right now on how this will all transfer across from Ubisoft Connect and the cloud and various different console saves. But again, I'm sure they will have this sorted on launch. Otherwise, the whole thing is going to be just pretty pointless if you have to start your Origins or Odyssey save all over again. And before I do actually run you through how we use each different section of this hub where these games feature, Ubisoft have given me 3 AC Shadow game codes to give away to you. You just need to be a subscriber of the channel, and you also need to share your positive or negative opinions of what you think about this Animus Hub so far down below in the comments at the end of this video, as the directors and developers have told me personally that they are on a bit of a rampage at the moment, reading all of the comment sections that they can get their hands on, because they want to take this feedback and improve it before launch. I'll also be announcing the winner on launch day with multiple comments counting towards entry across multiple videos, by the way. So do share your thoughts and opinions, and good luck to you. Now let's move on to the projects panel here, because this is where the free battle pass is located, which I imagine they're probably going to dislike me calling it that, but let's be honest, it is what it is. So to be as clear as I can for you, as it took me some time to kind of get my head around this, there's 2 things you need to be first aware of in this particular section. The first is called Shadows Projects, and the second is called Anomalies. Now, projects are designed as an in-game mechanic that you complete by doing an assortment of quests and activities in a specific AC game, which then progresses the modern day storyline in the Animus Hub and forwards it essentially. This is why the menu in the Shadows Project section here is called Shadows Projects, as it's stuff we need to do inside the Shadows game, with future AC games coming out like Hexay, for example, well, presumably being called Project Hexay or whatever new game name that they give it. And you kind of get what I mean about the distinction between different project sections here, because you can only do quests or activities in each one to progress that battle pass. Now, as updates come out, these project panels not only tell a small story in that specific game, but by engaging with these side quests and activities within the Legacy and the Awakening quest lines, as you can see on your screen here, you will then level up each of these battle passes or project quest lines individually, with each one having different rewards inside them to earn respectively. And you guessed it, some of these rewards will certainly be from the microtransaction packs in the main store, including weapons, armor, and in-game cosmetics. But you'll also earn in-game currency such as Mon here, which is what money is called in Shadows essentially, and more importantly, a new currency called Keys, which is the unique Animus Hub currency used to purchase items that appear in the exchange marketplace, which I'm going to walk you through next. But what about Anomalies, the other tab here in this project section? Well, if you played Valhalla, you're gonna have a good idea what these are, which the team showed us and described as problems within the Animus simulation as a kind of lore justification, where 4 of them will appear in-game every day, specifically in Shadows, which you will be able to locate via your investigation board in Shadows alongside all of your other quests and targets. Now, when you do arrive at each one of these locations, each one of the 4 anomalies will offer you a different challenge from the last, which utilizes the gameplay mechanics of the specific game you're in. So for example, there will be a parkour assault course floating in the sky that you'll need to complete, just like you did in Valhalla, where upon completion you will then earn data fragments and modern day XP, which then levels up your project battle pass for more or faster free rewards. Now, these data fragments and lore entries can then be viewed in the vault panel of the hub, which I'm going to walk you through after we talk about the exchange right now, which I would describe as basically being a new Redder shop, which, if you didn't know, was the microtransaction vendor that was permanently stationed in Ravensthorpe, or the settlement in Valhalla, who allowed you to buy microtransaction items that were sold in the store for real money. Now, the caveat being that these items randomly refreshed every day as well as on a weekly basis, and you could only purchase them with a currency called opals, which were very challenging and tedious to obtain. In short, the same thing is happening here in the exchange shop with the weekly refresh of MTX items. The only main difference is that opals are now called Animus keys, and you no longer have to visit a vendor in any future AC game to kind of redeem those keys for whatever you want. Now, the issue we have here, though, is we don't know how much these items are going to cost in terms of Animus keys, which potentially could mean a bit of a bloated grind, as well as the fact that the team have said that the hideout and in-game cosmetics will also be part of the weekly item refresh, which means, unlike this footage that they've shared here, several hundred cosmetics such as paintings for your hideout, roof textures, and wallpaper for your buildings will be included in this weekly or daily refresh, which has purposefully not been shown here, but rather they've added in a MTX mount, 2 weapons, 2 armor sets, and a cool skull helmet. In fact, this is a problem and a very big concern, genuine concern of mine, because 3 years ago I made a video on Redder's egregious drop rates when it came to this weekly refresh mechanic, where, for context, over 15 months after release and 750 cosmetic daily and weekly refresh items later, only 32% of the items appeared in resets were armor sets and weapons, with the other 68% being bloated and boring cosmetics nobody really wants to spend their opals on. Now, I very much like the idea of this hub, especially as it's completely disconnected from the store, which can only be found on the main menu screen, and it hasn't even really been shoved in our face on every menu screen inside the Animus Hub, which is what I was kind of expecting them to do. But my genuine concern is that these terrible refresh mechanics from Valhalla are likely to resurface here in the Animus Hub, where you just end up sitting on a hoard of Animus keys because the exchange keeps dropping 25 different versions of a bush to put in your hideout over several months, instead of the rest of the armor set that you were initially teased with and you got as a free reward in the Project's Battle Pass 10 months prior. So for me, this comes down to 2 things for it to be good or to function well. The drop rate rules on this exchange, for one. There needs to be an ironclad guarantee from the developers or publicly that there will always be 3 items that are either armor, weapons, or mount orientated from microtransactions packs appearing every week, with the other 3 slots, to be fair, being random loot boxes, essentially as a kind of compromise here. And secondly, the items are not expensive to buy with our Animus keys, meaning you don't need to spend 3 months grinding out project quests or anomalies in game to be able to afford just 1 item in the exchange. So if they're fair in their design and market rules, this will work very well. And if they're not, and they use it as a carrot and a stick game to play with players and encourage a grind, essentially tempting you to finish the armor set that you half have by going to the store and spending real cash because you've already waited 5 months for it to not appear in the exchange, then I will honestly have something pretty or quite strong to say about it, because it's not fun, it's not fair, and it just creates resentment within the player base, and Ubisoft don't need that right now. But on the whole, I think it's a good mechanic if it's going to be treated well. Now, as for the vault section here, this is where you're going to be able to stay up to date on all of the data fragments that you've collected across Shadows and future expansions, as well as new games when they come out. So think of this as a modern day codex, which will be a growing library of text, images, videos, teaser clips, and everything narratively focused that will be stored in one place in the correct storyline order. And this means that you can keep refreshed and updated on the modern day storyline as it progresses through multiple expansions, DLCs, updates, and new game releases, keeping this continuity of this new modern day story easily memorable and understandable, which I think is also a very good addition to this hub in my opinion. Now, as for my final thoughts and shimmering concerns, I've already discussed my tentativeness surrounding the exchange and its random loot drop rules, as well as the potential grindy aspect that projects and anomalies could be introducing to this game as a way to earn free battle pass rewards. But as this new generation of AC games are being built on a new Ubisoft Anvil engine. This means that the transferability and the implementation of AC assets can be utilized by the developers across multiple different game titles, whereas for comparison, you couldn't just use assets from Odyssey and then drag and drop them into Valhalla or copy and paste them. They had to be completely remade by the team entirely for Valhalla, which is actually what happened behind the scenes for the DLC expansion, by the way. So with this now not being an issue going forward between studios and teams, it is very likely, but not yet confirmed, that if you earn a cosmetic item in game or purchase a MTX pack through the store, you will then, in theory, be able to use that across all future AC games and even in multiplayer, which is a good thing for those of you who do engage and spend your own money with these type of mechanics. It's your money at the end of the day. You want to do what you want with it. And if that means that you can buy a cosmetic and use it for the next 5 or 10 years across all of these AC games, that's way better than what we've got right now. I would also love to see a way of being able to spend our Animus keys to purchase new AC expansions that they end up putting price tags on, similar to the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC in Valhalla, or even where we'd be able to buy the next game in full just with these Animus keys if we grind them out enough. In fact, a good example of this that I've just remembered would be World of Warcraft, where Blizzard, who owns the game, lets you pay for your monthly subscription using in-game gold coins as a way to keep players incentivized to continually play their game for free month to month. So I could see Ubisoft doing something similar here. Maybe not a whole game, but certainly expansions and extra content. That said, I think this is a positive move in the right direction if this hub isn't abused for the wrong reasons like we saw in Valhalla, and I'm looking forward to this new modern day storyline. Now, with all of this in mind, do make sure that you share your positive or negative opinions down below in the comments to enter the giveaway, and after you've done so, click the AC Shadows video on your screen right now, as I've got more, just so much interesting info to discuss with you over the coming weeks, so hopefully see you there in just a second. Thanks to Nika for helping me source this video, and as always, coffee is on me.